Good evening. Am I on? There I am. Good evening. Welcome to the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild February 2021 meeting. I'm Craig Arnold. I'm the president of the guild. Got my mask here. Yay, the crowd goes wild. We have a crowd of about 5 people down here, 6 people. Hopefully you all can hear us. I know we're on about a 30-second delay, so if you do have a comment on anything that's going on in tonight's program, it might take a little bit to get your question answered. We've got some special guests tonight. Jim Bainey's come back to do the show and tell, and we got a lot of show and tell items. Glad to have him here, and also Mike Cobb, the wood butcher, is here. He will talk about his service that he offers. But first, I want to go into a couple of things through the guild business. We've closed the guild a couple of days because of the inclement weather we've been receiving from the North Pole. Be sure to check your emails, check Facebook, Instagram, what else? Twitter. What's that? Oh, the web page. Yeah, check the web page because the guild might be closed. There's some of our shop foremen that come from great distances to volunteer their time to help you out down here, but check those out before you come down. We're trying to do a better job of getting that announced earlier and earlier when possible. We do have some upcoming elections. We got Tim Locke here. He's our member at large, and he'll talk about the elections.
Thank you, Chuck. Or Craig, I'm sorry. We do have an election coming up, and in the COVID era, getting together and seeing each other is a lot harder to do than it's been in the past. We do have a couple of volunteers for positions. One of the positions that we need some good talent on is the position for our new treasurer. And so if we have somebody with a little bit of number crunching background that, you know, can like balance their own checkbook, that would be kind of a minimum requirement. But comfortable working with numbers, and that would end up being a board position. So you get to help manage the guild's finances and get all the bills paid. Gary Melke's wanting to step down from that role, and he's done a wonderful job, and he'll certainly help somebody transition into that new role. So I'm seeking a volunteer or two that would like to consider that, and they can give me a call or an email, and I'll be happy to discuss it with them. That's really all I have, but we do really need some help in that area. Please step up if you have a little bit of an interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the election will be by email in April. So be sure to vote when you get your email on all the different officers and leadership committee positions. We just need at least 10% of you all, of all the members, to fill one out for it to be a valid election. Last time we got a pretty good response, so we appreciate all the effort that you have taken in voting in the past, particularly last March or last April. Gary Melke's not here to talk about the Treasury, but we do have money, and we are paying our bills on time. So, Chuck Saunders, our asset director, says we have a Steel City drill press over here that is for sale. I think you can find information about it on the website, on the Guild website, and he's asking $150 for it. As is, where is. So keep that in mind. Ron Hall is our communications director. He has a communications committee. He and his committee manage the website, the newsletter, the Facebook group, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. They've got their hands full. We do want to welcome Christine Kessler as a helper on the website. I know Mark's going to appreciate the help in administering that website. Our Facebook group is at KCWWG. We also have the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild group. that you can see online. At Instagram, we're Kansas City Woodworkers Guild, all one word. Twitter is also at KCW Guild. Subscribe. If you're watching this now, be sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell, and that will get us, you can see the little subscribe button up there, right about there. That will ring our bell here. We currently have 116 subscribers, and that's up 100 from last month. Also, in communications, Ron asked if you have done a project or if you have an article in mind for a newsletter article for us, we would love to have it. He would love to have some fresh faces write for the newsletter. So you can always get a hold of Ron at newsletter@kcwg.org. So let's see. Don Steele's in the library. If you don't know it, Guild members have access to a great library back here that you can check out books and DVDs, take them home. Eventually you might get a nastygram to say bring those things back after a few months. But it is a very well-stocked library. Plus, it has electronic issues of many magazines: Fine Woodworking, Popular Woodworking, American Woodworker. There's quite a few magazines back there that you can scroll through on the library computer. You can print off some of the articles that you want, but it is a very well-stocked library. That's why we're trying to get rid of the thousands of magazines that we have back there, the paper ones, because we've got it all in electronic form now. Let's see, for events coming up on February 27th at 8 a.m. I think that's a Saturday. Is that right? Yeah. There's a wood sale. Many of you may have come to the wood sale for all the Australian and New Zealand wood, the flute quality. I mean, it is really beautiful, beautiful wood. A lot of that sold for $5 a pound, and we barely made a dent in all that wood back there. There's 3 pallets about 4 feet tall that's still left back there to sell. I think the wood turners is going to be the group administering it, and so they will derive the benefit from your purchases on that wood. If you like pretty wood, come down. I bought, and they're small pieces. They're like 1 by 1, 1.5, 2.5 inch square by 12 by 18 by 24 inches. The gentleman who did this collected this wood to make flutes, and he was a world-renowned flute maker, and also a performing artist with wooden flutes. And when we got an opportunity for this wood, his family just didn't want it to go piecemeal or turn it into kindling. Many of our members have got a lot of good use out of it. I know the turners down there were just salivating over it when they were in here. And it also makes great intarsia wood, great for any of the scroll sawing. You want to keep a sharp blade on some of this wood, though. And he's showing me what? The knife? Knife scales. Oh, yes, it makes great knife scales. Yes, that's a good... Whispering doesn't work here sometimes. All righty, let's see. Jim Berard is our membership director, and he wants to remind... So, yeah, I know as much fun as you make it, Mike. So. Let's see. There's a great safety article in the newsletter this week by our safety director, Mike Jones. It is on cleaning up after yourself. And as a shop foreman here, I wholeheartedly agree, clean up after yourself, please. Your mother does not work here. Dwayne Miller, our sponsorship director, wants to remind us to use Amazon Smile. And on your screen there, you'll see our webpage. But if you go to smile.amazon.com, search for the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. And with every purchase that you buy, 0.5% comes back to the Guild as a donation from Amazon. It does not raise your price at all, but it does keep money from coming in. I think last year we got a little over $600, I think, 600 from all the purchases. I know that Gary Melky's wife contributed greatly. Thank you, Mrs. Melky. We appreciate that. And also, I helped out a little bit as well. So, let's see. Mike McCulley teaches our Rough to Ready class. So for new members, if you're a brand new member, we'd like for you to stand up at home and give yourself a round of applause. If you're a visitor, we'd like for you to also do the same thing. So stand up and applause. We have a visitor here with us tonight. But as a new member, you have the option, if you want shop privileges, you have the option of taking your online test and then coming down to the guild for the safety video. You'll correct your test to 100%, and then you'll take an orientation where it's just pointing to a machine and indicating the safety points on all the machines. Another option, which for new woodworkers or woodworkers who maybe need to brush up on their tool use, Rough to Ready is a great class. And that is how much? So it's $50 for the sawdust maker, or if you're a woodworker plus, you get a 20% discount. That class is $40 then. And that is where you will make a box. Mike and all his cohorts that help out in this class, you still do your online safety test. You still come down for the video. You still correct your test to 100%. But then Mike and his staff will take you around, and you'll actually make a box. You'll have a rough piece of lumber, and you will make a box and have enough left over to make a second box that we encourage you to do right away. And I think Mike wants to say something here. Green.
It's a one-on-one class.
And it's a, yes, that's.
If you're from the same household, we'll take two.
Okay.
But other than that, it's a one-on-one class. So it's the student and instructor.
Very nice.
Takes about 5 hours.
About 5 hours to do, because you start with a rough piece of lumber, and a lot of this lumber is rough. It defines rough. And you make it into a very pretty board, and you end up with a beautiful box. And for a lot of people who've never done woodworking, they come away with a box that actually looks really nice. It's very well put together, and they are so proud of this box, they just can't imagine, I can get better from this, and you can. So, but Mike does a great job on that class. Let's see, in training, we've got, let's see here. Oh, I should go back to sponsors for a minute. In our newsletter this month, you'll see a whole list of all the guild sponsors and discounts that are offered. There's one clarification we need to make, though, on Lee Nielsen. Lee Nielsen Toolworks usually comes to the guild every year, and there is guild night at the guild here, just for members. And at that event, they offer a 10% discount, no sales tax, and free shipping for items that get shipped from Maine. The newsletter kind of made it seem like you got a discount anytime you ordered something from them, and we just want to clarify that. In future editions of the newsletter, that will be spelled out a little bit better. And that was from Dwayne. He has a note here about that. So on the classes side, let me get my notes here. Craig Arnold, obviously a handsome man of superior intellect, is having a finishing class. In fact, he's having 3 finishing classes. It's a 3-day class. We have one starting on April 16th. There's one in mid-March and one at the end of March. It's 3 days of finishing fun, Monday and Tuesday evenings and Saturday mornings. And on Saturday mornings, I bring donuts. Woohoo! So, also, Mike Jones, our safety director, he teaches a great class on knife making. So you get a made metal knife, but you're going to put the scales or the wood handles on this. And some of that Australian wood would be ideal for these knife scales. But he walks you through the entire process. I've taken his class, and that is my wife's favorite knife, is that little Santoku knife. And Mike gets a really good, high-quality knife. These are not cheap knives that he gets. And it's a fun class to take, and you end up personalizing it to fit your hand. And it's really a fun class. So I'd encourage you to sign up for that class. He's got a minimum of, or maximum of 6, a minimum of 3. And there's plenty of space and plenty of tools because he brings a lot of his, and the guild has some tools here as well that we'll use. So social distancing can be maintained during his class down there. Let's see. Next thing up is our upcoming SIGs. SIGs are our special interest groups. And one of these SIGs is the wood carving SIG, which meets the fourth Tuesday of the month from 6 to 9 over here in classroom number 2, commonly known as the hand tool room. The CNC SIG may not be meeting for a while, but they normally meet on the fourth Wednesday of the month at 6:30. Talk all things CNC. Rob Young and others lead the hand tool SIG, which is on the fourth Sunday of the month from 2 to 4 p.m. There's a power tool SIG. Actually, the full name of that is the Power Tool Restoration SIG. A lot of guild members will come and participate in rehabbing old pieces of equipment that may be acquired by the guild either through donation or repurchase. They clean them up and they put them into use, or we sell them to raise money for the guild. That's a fun SIG. So if you run across an old 12-inch Oliver jointer, don't be afraid to buy it thinking that you can't make it look pretty, because Chuck Saunders and the group of people, guys and gals that are in that SIG, can show you how to make that thing gleam again. So also we have the scroll saw SIG that meets the second Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. over in classroom number 2 where all the scroll saws are. But do check the website on these, because COVID sometimes prevents people from coming in, and maybe even the weather may prevent people from coming in. So that's it for the business side of things. We're now going to move into show and tell. We have an in-studio guest tonight. So we have Jim Bainey, and everybody can look at their screens and get a chuckle out of what's up there on the screen right now. So I'm going to vacate here while Jim comes up and talks about all things from show and tell.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Megan.
Is this on? Yes. All right. So, gosh, it's been over a year since we've done show and tell, and it's something I really miss. And I'm speaking for myself. I've spent a lot of time in my shop because I've had a lot of time, and I've done a number of projects. One of the things that kept me focused and directed was I decided to put a 16 by 10 addition on my kitchen, and I did all the cabinets, I did the flooring, I did all the wiring, I did everything myself except I didn't dig the hole for the concrete. So that's, my wife was on my case the other day. She said, I wish I had time to work on my hobbies, and I said, I haven't worked on my hobbies for the last year and a half that I've been working on this, so pardon me if I take 3 or 4 days and tinker around in the shop. Anyway, one of the things I did for a project in my shop was, you want to bring that, there we go. I made a portable tool stand for all of my Porter Cable 20-volt platform tools, of which I own. I won't go through that now. Anyway, of which I own probably 25 tools in that platform, and I had them all on a shelf on the other side of my shop, which is my 2.5-car garage. And every time I wanted one, I'd have to go over and pick it up. I have a habit of using 3 impact tools. I use one to drill, one to put a bit into whatever screw I'm using, and a countersink. And so I hate to change. I'm like those guys that own 20 routers that don't want to change router bits. That's the way I am with impact tools. So I took approximately 10 or 12 of the tools that I use the most, and I put them in a rack, and I have it real close by. And so all I have to do is grab whatever I want, and it works. I made it out of Baltic birch plywood. I put a drawer on the upper part of it to keep all the bits and chucks and anything that's special that goes on the impact tools. And in the second row, I put my grinder, a angle drill, and probably one of the handiest tools I own is a multi-tool. Dewalt makes an incredible tool. I mean, I think it's on par with any of the electric tools that like Fine or those brands. And then I put some other tools down at the bottom, and I really enjoy using this. I can move it around if I get cramped for space. I haven't yet figured out a good way to put a battery charger on it. So I've got the battery charger on another bench, and I think I own about 12 batteries, so that's not a problem. Anyway, took me a couple hours to build this, and after I got done with it, I said, why didn't I think of this a long time ago? So anyway, that's my project. The second one is from is it Johannes? Johannes? Hannes? Johannes? Okay. Schlater. And it's an R2R box 21. Oh, rough to ready. Is that what it stands for? Wow. Okay, so Mike, you helped her out with this?
It's a him, and he's from Sweden or anyway. He's
sorry about that.
His grandfather taught him woodworking. We made the rough ready box, and then he enhanced it and used the wood that would be normally for a second box. He used that to make the additional drawers and put a hinge on it and everything.
Okay, and he made this out of spalted ash.
No, it's hackberry.
Okay.
He may have forgotten what it was, but it's hackberry.
All right. Yeah, I've never heard of spalted ash, as a matter of fact. So, good. And put a Minwax and a clear poly finish on it. Reset brass hinges. So the brass hinges are just pin hinges, it looks like. And then he piston fit the corner splines. Listen, this really so this is a blanket chest or okay. 3.5 tall, 9 inches wide, 12 by 5. Okay. And it says here it took him about 12 hours, and it's a destination jewelry box at our Slovakian house for my lovely wife. Wow. I bet he's in good standings with her right about now.
Better than you are with your wife.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Okay. And the least favorite part of his project was getting the felt inlays to match. The scissors are not my friend, so I take it that he lined it with felt. Okay. So, have we got all? Are we through all 3 of those? Okay. Then the next one is a video that Russ Amos made of a cordless tool tote. So, you want to play that?
Hi, I'm Russ Amos. I've been a guild member for many, many years. I have a problem where I have to go to a job site and carry this bag of tools, and I can't find anything in there when I need it. So I'll show you what my solution was. Okay, here's what my solution is for the problem. I built this nice little cabinet to take the tools to the job site. Opens up. Everything's saws down here. Here's the drill bits. Here's more screws and fasteners. More things that goes in here. And electrical will go in there. Got the drills, the impact drivers and drills. The batteries slide out on trays. Got the charger here. On the side, all the cord stows right here on the side of it. And on the back, the square is stowed. And now I can just roll it to wherever I've got to go and set it up, and it's ready to go.
Awesome. Okay, so Russ made this thing out of half-inch Baltic birch plywood, put a coat of wipe-on poly on it, and it has a place for everything for it as a point of interest. And the challenges he encountered was fitting it into the smallest package possible, which, yeah, I understand that. Took him about 2 days to do this, and he's using it for in his shop and on a job site. His favorite part of the project was getting it all to fit. Making a pig out of a pork chop, in other words. His least favorite part was getting the wheels in the right place. I can understand that. Okay, the next one is Terry Van Dyke, and he made a flag box case. He made this out of used walnut. Points of interest. The finish he put on it was Minwax penetrating stain and sealer. The points of interest or the measurements have to be exact. Yeah, I've made a couple of flag cases, and that's no easy task. Challenges were cutting the kerf in for the splines. Took him approximately 2 weeks. Final destination is flag stores for my wife's cousin's coffin. And so I take it that he was probably a veteran, and I salute that. Favorite part of the project is when I cut the kerfs for the spline. The least favorite part of the project was planning the material. Understand that too. So, are we through all four slides? Good. Okay, so the next one. I really miss being able to converse with people and ask them questions. You know what they're doing and how they did it and what they're going to do next. It'll be good to get back to normal if we ever do. Okay, so the next one is Curtis Alexander, and he made a keepsake box for memories of his brother-in-law. This is made out of spalded maple and walnut, seal coat with lacquer and wax. Point of interest was his wooden hinges, picture frame, and the lid. You would not be able to have accomplished this without the skills I learned from the precision box class and the intermediate woodworking class I recently completed. Thanks to all those instructors. Challenge, wooden hinges for the picture frame. Wow. That's impressive. How long the project took was 2.5 months, as time allowed. Understand that as well. Would the project be used for the final destination? So I take it this is a memorial box for his brother-in-law, and what a fantastic project this is for. The center medallion was good. Man after my own heart. Okay. The next one is Keenan Oren. I made a step stool and used walnut and copper. So trying to figure out what he used the copper for. Probably the pins. Okay. Interesting. That's a really good contrasting construction fastening system. He finished it with shellac and wax. He hand cut the dovetails and copper pins for the back stretcher. Challenges deciding when to cut the arch, having to cut it after the glue up. Whoops, little chronological order there. How long did it take? So it took about 10 hours. The project's final destination is sent to a good friend of mine in California at her art gallery. Favorite part of the project is all the hand tool work. Least favorite part of it is cutting the arches out of sequence. Yeah, I've been there. Okay, nice project. Okay, the next one is Ryan Mcnair. And this is got a lot of slides on this one. This is a Cherry Entertainment credenza. Wow. This looks like a very complex project that probably took him 11 months overall. Wow. 7 months break during the summer to renovate 4 rooms in my house. I understand that as well. So he's going through the sequence of cutting diagram, the glue up. Looks like he's finished it with what kind of sander was that? Festool? Okay. Nice piece of equipment. I own 2 of them. Thanks to Craig. Hard sell. Yeah. He used 5/4 cherry, 1/4-inch cherry plywood, dominoes, various scraps, drawer slides on the high-quality Heffel brand rollers and tracks. So I take it that the front of this is on a track system with the doors, and they slide from side to side. And okay, yeah. Can't tell exactly what the panels are made out of. I see. That's probably the 1/4-inch plywood panels. Anyway, points of interest is the design for our living room to fit and hide all the CDs, DVDs, and electronics. 7 feet wide helps the TV seem smaller. Wow, that's probably a big TV as well. Anyway, challenges encountered. The left side of the waterfall design, which means I had to start the 9-foot boards. Very heavy. Finding 7-foot long single-piece roller track required a custom order from Washington State. Also, tung oil dries very slowly. Been there, done that. Finishing took over 2 months. Yeah, I understand that. And he put on here pure tung oil. I didn't know there was anything else besides.
Well, there's those tung oil finishes
that
often don't have any tung oil in them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They can't hear him, Jim. Repeat it.
Okay, so Craig is. You
Okay,
say that, Craig.
Often tung oil finishes often have no tung oil at all in them. But a 100% pure tung oil is a very slow drying. There's no metallic dryers in them. It's very slow drying, but it yields a very beautiful finish.
Didn't know that.
Yep.
Okay, and he said it took 11 months overall after a 4-month room renovation. 4 months? Is that all it took for room renovation? Outstanding. The design is really intriguing. The angle of the legs and the whole frame. Awesome piece of work. Thanks for submitting that. Okay, so the next one, Tom Brandt. Did a half bath and kitchen pantry conversion. So, this sounds like fun. This he used 3/4 inch materials, used 3/4 inch Baltic birch with maple face frames, doors, and drawer fronts. Shelves, 1 inch maple from Guild sponsored Bloomer's Hardwoods. Contents, counters, 1 3/4 maple butcher block with walnut screw plugs in the back splash. Does that show up on here? Okay. Wow. That's some intense work. It's going to be, I can tell you right now, it's going to be tough to get your money back out of that when you ever sell that house. Been there. Floor, inlaid linoleum. So, does the floor show up? Right there in the middle. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, so he got an inlay in the middle of the floor, and it's vinyl. Nice. Cabinets are Sherman-Williams latex. Shelves are Armasil satin. Counters, mineral oil. Points of interest. High back sink was a salvage barn find. Wow, that's an old. My wife wanted a farm sink, which sticks out in the front. That's a different animal. Anyway, challenges encountered 90-year-old house built by a man apparently taken to drink. Oh yeah, been there, done that.
Repeat that last line again.
The challenges encountered was a 90-year-old house built by a man apparently taking to drink. Yeah, plumb level, straight and square. Probably none of those applied. How long did the project take? 4 months. Flooring delayed by a COVID shutdown. Well, I don't know why that would happen, because that's all I had to do on mine was work on the kitchen addition. How long or what will the project be used for? Final destination, making my wife happy. Yes, I fully understand that. That is favorite part of the project, help and support fellow guild members and the shop foreman. Thank you. Least favorite part of the project, plumbing. And I don't, let me enlighten you. There's only 2 things that you have to know how to be a plumber. Water runs downhill besides something else, and paydays on Friday. Okay, the next one is a piece of intarsia by Dave Roth. And Dave has got to be absolutely one of the leading intarsia people in the country, I think. He's gotten the reputation in the last few years of, I think, is probably being one of the premier intarsia people in the entire country. If you've ever seen a collection of his projects, it is just overwhelming. This one is a stallion, and the materials used is 1 stick of walnut and wingy that a friend gave him. Knowing Dave, yeah, he got it real cheap. Dave's one of these guys. We meet regularly. We have raffle for with tools and hand tools and things like that. And Dave, I can't remember a time when Dave didn't win something, and I swear he's equipped his whole shop with what he's won off of that raffle. Points of interest. Oh, finish he used was boiled linseed oil to enhance the color of the wood. He let it dry for 4 days and then coated with Euro varnish, water-based finish by General. Points of interest, the stallion is approximately 24 inches tall, 80 pieces of wood. Pattern is a Ken Bennett. Challenges encountered the glue up. You only get one shot. Okay, Kelvin. Kelvin, come on up here and we got to have some interaction up there on this. Tell us about your boxes.
So I actually have a lot of projects going lately, and
Gotta sit down.
I'm working on some bunk beds that are due for a house in Breckenridge. But my coworker came to me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, I'd like to make some keepsake boxes for my daughters." And he has 4 daughters, and then he says, "By the way, I want one for my wife as well." And I said, that sounds good. And then he wanted their names inlaid in the tops. So I got really busy, and I knocked them out. I don't know if you see some of the photos that I have, but they're just pretty simple dovetailed boxes. Made them out of walnut. I cut the inlay out of maple using the scroll saw, and then I just basically affixed them down and traced around with an X-Acto knife and carved out the recesses and inlaid them very traditionally. I'm a woodworker, not a computer guy, so I'm not really a CNC guy.
Amen.
So a lot of people might have chosen that route, but in the end, they worked really well. It took me about I did it in about 2 weeks of nights and weekends, and the 5 boxes they're about 7.5 inches tall, and they're built to like a sheet of typing paper, 8.5 by 11 will fit in easily. I got the hinges from Horton Brasses. It's kind of cool. The hinges were made to fit 1/2-inch material, but by the time I finished them, they were a little scant, so they were closer to 3/8, which is fine. But the hinges were too big, so I cut the hinges down just using a bandsaw, using a woodworking blade, and worked out really slick. Smoothed them up on the belt sander. You can't hold them too long; you'll burn your fingers. But it's just kind of really a quick hitter. I think I wrote on the sheet that the hardest part about it is that one night I really, really needed the deadline was so tight. He needed them for Valentine's Day. And I really needed to get to the next phase. So what I thought was going to be a late night turned into going to bed at 4:30, and I had a 6:30 a.m. meeting. So I essentially took a shower and took a short nap. That was the worst part. And, I have come around over the years. My favorite part of it was the finishing process because, some of it was I was rushing so fast. Some of it I had a lot of details that needed to be dealt with. So the scraping and sanding and surface prep and getting shellac and wax really kind of made them much more beautiful than they were. So that was my favorite part about it.
Good. What kind of response did you get from for when you delivered them?
They said it was a big hit, and my coworker said that the Sunday night, Valentine's Day, all 4 of his girls had them all out on the floor, and they were all kind of sorting through all their cards and letters and things, deciding what to put in. So that was cool to hear that they enjoyed it. So
awesome. Thank you. Okay, the the last one? Wayne Peterson? Okay. Jewelry boxes. Wow. It's made out of curly maple and walnut. The finish is shellac and wax. The compound angles, while not difficult, made construction interesting and resulted in a couple of do-overs. It looks like the size is about 10 by 12 by 10, maybe 8 inches high. And a curved lid. Wow. Wayne does some awesome work.
I don't know if you noticed the little tray is also compound cut to fit inside the box properly.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Wow. Outstanding. I wish I sorely miss being able to converse with people on their projects. So maybe in the future we can get a question and answer period going with them, because there's quite a delay with doing that right now. So that does it for show and tell. No, that's all right.
You want to show your box off?
I guess I could.
So here's the Guild Sweetheart, bringing up the last show and tell item. Take a bow. Mister.
This
There's the bow. All right.
this box, I saw it in a magazine, and I saw the design of it, and I figured I was really intrigued with how it looked. My wife came out of the shop and she said, "Well, what are you going to put in there?" I said, "I haven't decided yet, but these boxes look like they're fun to build." So I've now built 4 of them, and I'm going to build 1 more, and I think I'm going to put them in a case with casters on it, and trays that I can pull out, and I think I'm going to put bits and tools that are hard to categorize, that because I can't tell you how many times I know I own one of those and I can't find it. So I get frustrated and I go down to the hardware store and I buy another one, and 2 hours later I find it. So,
Well, Jim, you did that to me. You said, "I know I own 2 of these. I'm in here buying a 3rd one." That one just two, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've been accused of getting old. Okay, so this is made out of Baltic birch and hard maple. The challenges were getting the top to fit. It opens up with figuring out where I had to put extra reinforcing to make the screws work and get everything lined up. And I own a really good Festool sanding system, so I found that all I got to do is get close and sand it into the right size. So that's it. Thank you. See you next week.
All right.
One.
Thank you, Jim. Here, come take your fancy box away. All right. Let's latch that up. Oh, that's cool latches too. Where'd you get those? We don't sell those at Woodcraft.
Yeah. I found out the hard way.
Yeah. All righty. Let me move some stuff around. Oh, you want your Humana mask, Jim? Your mask there? All right. This. All righty. So, our special guest tonight, our guest speaker is Mike Cobb, the program director, Matt Nowak. He wrote up this little a blurb about Mike here, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase it. But Mike, I work with Mike out at Woodcraft, and we get a lot of calls out at the store. My husband, my grandpa, my wife, my grandma, a woodworker in my family has passed away. we don't know what to do with their equipment. They got some nice stuff, got some other stuff. We just want to, Grandma needs to get the house cleaned out. So what do we do? And Mike's been doing wood butcher tool sales since 2000, and started over in St. Louis. And then when you move back over here to this side of the state, in 2005, he kept going with it. But Mike provides a great service to a lot of woodworkers. One of the things that I kind of joke with him about sometimes was, people get a CNC machine, and I saw the first sign that a guy made on his new CNC machine was, "When I die, I'm afraid my wife will sell all my tools for what I told her I paid for them." And so Mike is going to help either a family or a woodworker sell their tools and get what they deserve out of it. So Mike, come on up here, have a seat. We're going to widen the camera shot out a little bit. So, I'm prepared. I have questions. Oh, I'm going to take this off here. All right. So, tell us, your microphone works, right? Got it? Okay, there we go. So tell us, what exactly does Wood Butcher Tool Sales do? Nope, he's not on. Yeah. Does he need a button or a handheld? Nope. A little technical difficulty. All this new sound equipment and video equipment. It's not the finely oiled machine. Here, we can use a handheld. All right, try that one there. Thanks, Mike. All right. No, just use that one for now. Okay, so. Oh, he's got to turn you on first.
Let's try one more time.
All right, now you should be on.
We good?
Yeah, a little closer.
We good?
He's getting you sound checked here. New batteries. Woohoo!
That'll make a difference.
Got a red light. And then I got a green light. Now he's going to turn here. We'll take that microphone away.
Got that?
That's all right. Not always a finely oiled machine, so now try it.
I was ready? Test?
There we go.
All right, all right.
So let me ask that question again.
Ask.
What exactly does Wood Butcher Tool Sales do?
Wood Butcher Tool Sales is basically it's like an estate sale. Everybody's probably been doing estate sale sometime in their life, and it's like that, only it is implemented toward only woodworking tools. And I tell everybody that it's strictly woodworking tools. I don't get involved in glass work, don't get involved in clothing like that at all, or antiques. Just strictly woodworking tools. That's
Very
what it
nice.
is.
So how does it work? How do you find people?
What I do is like you were mentioning, Craig, I get people calling in from the store, and they'll ask, hey, my dad passed away, or my grandfather passed away, or whatever, we're downsizing, and we don't have any idea what the tools are cost, what they're worth. Since I was a Delta rep years and years ago, I got involved with that back in St. Louis, and Kansas City's home. But like you said, when we came back to Kansas City, I kept doing that because it started in St. Louis. And I just basically go to somebody's home and I appraise their tools, because I know what the value of the tools are, for the most part, hand tools and power tools. And then I go ahead, and after I appraise them, I photograph them, and we set up a time, we have a tool sale. And just like a regular estate sale, people come, they buy the tools, they walk out with them, and it works very well, real simple.
And so you've been doing this how long?
Well, it's 2000, actually a little bit before that, because I got my first opportunity to do this in St. Louis probably about 90, I'm going to say probably 1998.
Wow.
Yeah, 98. Been doing that ever since then. St. Louis, back here in Kansas City.
So,
Yeah.
How'd this start? How'd you start doing this?
It's like anything else. You get somebody called and said, anybody that knows anything about these tools I've got, and I'd collected hand planes in the past. And this lady had some hand planes in St. Louis, and she had some other things. And so, this one guy said, hey, Mike knows what it is. And I really didn't know that much. I knew a little bit, enough to be dangerous, but I said, okay, I'll try that. So I went and helped her, and one thing led to another, and it's like word of mouth kind of got going. So that's how it happened.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So about how many sales do you now do a year?
Well, it depends. Usually with the COVID, it's influenced a little bit, but I usually have around 12 to 15 sales every year.
Wow.
12 to 15.
I didn't know that. That's
roughly.
a lot of sales. And so do you do all the sales at a person's home, or do you have a business front or a warehouse?
I get asked that a lot, and what I tell people is this: I don't move the tools stay right there on site at the person's workshop or the garage or basement, whatever it's going to be, and we conduct the sale right there at their locations. There's no moving of any tools or machinery whatsoever.
Okay, so it stays pretty safe.
Stays,
and
yeah,
the
stays
owner
right there.
Knows what they've got.
That's
Okay,
exactly right.
Very cool.
Exactly right.
How long do the sales last?
They usually last between 3 and 4 hours. Sales usually last 3 and 4 hours, as opposed to other sales, like you have estate sales that'll run, 2, 3, 4 days. Mine last usually 3 or 4 hours, and that's it. That's all it takes really to move those tools out of there. And there's some residue left over always when we get rid of those eventually. But usually 3 or 4 hours. I had one 2 weeks ago that actually, because of the size of it, it went 5, but that's unusual, and usually 3 or 4 hours.
Okay, wow. So it clears out pretty quick. You
Yes,
get there
it
early,
does.
right?
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
Let's see. One of the questions was, do you also do any auctions?
Well, I get asked a lot. So is this an auction type operation? I say no. It's basically a tag sale. And one of the things I'll bring up is a tag sale is basically where somebody put a pre-printed price tag on a piece of equipment or a tool, and that's the price that people pay. They don't have to say, I'm not going to have any auctioneers out there doing that. It makes it much more simpler to do that, and we get over and done with real quick, in and out, and the shop owner is very happy, the customers are happy. They don't have to wait in line. 'Cause sometimes if you buy by the lots, if you see something you like, you have to wait all day long on most of that item to come up. This one you don't. You get there early, it's yours.
Yeah, very cool. How many tool buyers are on your mailing list now that typically come to your
Right now,
sales?
I've got right around 765 tool buyers right now that
Wow.
That get all the information regarding upcoming tool sales that I've accumulated over the years.
And how are they notified of the sales?
Basically, what I do is I have what they call a pre-notification list, in which whenever I have a sale coming up, I have an email blast, which you're familiar with, and I just go ahead and I send all the information out there to all the individuals. It has the date, the time, location, and photographs and little paragraphs about certain machinery and tools. I can't cover everything, but enough more or less to kind of whet their appetite a little bit. The photographs tell it all, but that gives them the information they want. And then the last thing I do, because I do it twice, I send one about a week prior to the sale. Then the night before the sale, I put it out again as a reminder, but also I put the address then, because people don't want me giving out addresses, and I don't blame them, giving out addresses early where somebody's going to drive by their house, taking a peek at it before the sale starts. So I don't give it out until the night before.
Oh, well, that's good. So
Yeah, you bet.
have the sales dropped off during the pandemic?
Yeah, they have a little bit, but not too much. I mean, there was a dry period last year in 2020 from about, I'm going to say probably from July through September. There wasn't any sales then. Then they start picking up slowly but surely. What I do is, everybody does, you have to have masks, you have to social distance, and in most cases, most shops, I only allow 5 people in at a time. So the first 5 come in, when one person leaves, the next person comes in, and everybody abides by that pretty well, they really do. So it's picked up a little bit.
So do you must earn money from this? Do you charge a commission?
Like to do it just for free of charge, everybody likes to think that, but no. What I do, I charge basically an hourly rate, and it depends what they have, obviously, but I keep my rate pretty much the same year after year. I don't charge commissions, something like that. And what I tell people, what I do is say, if you were to call me up and said, Mike, I got some tools I want to get rid of, or I'm downsizing, whatever it might be, what I do then is, after I look at what you've got, and I figure out how long it's going to take, and tell you what's going to take as far as time-wise to put everything together, from that point on, I only charge you when I'm at your location. If I'm at home working, which I take my photographs off my phone, I crop them, I take the best ones, throw them away, and then put the best ones that you like and put them online, put the old ones away. I write paragraphs, and I send all those things out. And when I'm doing that at my house, there's no charge whatsoever. I only charge when I'm at your location working, which includes setting everything up and photographing it, and then having the sale, of course. So it works out pretty well for the customer.
And so do you take, what forms of payment do you take? Cash, check?
Only cash.
Only cash, okay.
I get asked that a lot, but I don't take credit cards, I don't take checks, and I only take cash. It works out real well for everybody.
Yeah.
And at the end of the sale, I give the owner a nice thick wad of cash, and everybody's happy as they can be.
Very cool. Let's see.
Question.
Oh, we have a question.
What is some unusual pieces that you've had that you've sold?
Unusual, the probably most unusual thing that I've ever sold. 2 years ago, I did a sale in Kansas City, Kansas, and there was a retired dentist, and he had not only his dental tools, which people use dental picks, obviously, for certain aspects of woodworking, but he had a dental drill. He had an old-fashioned dental drill, which was run by a belt, and he used that for all kinds of drilling. He used, obviously, when he's a dentist, but he also used it for carving, and it was almost like a small Fordham type operation. And people saw that, and it was snapped up right away. It was one of the most unusual things I've ever had. You know, so we work on your teeth and work on your woodworking at the same time.
Yeah. And if you had wooden teeth,
Yeah, there you go, like George Washington did, right?
yeah. Now, so is everything sold at your sale, or is there stuff left over?
Yeah,
that-
there's always some residue, Craig. There's always a little bit left over. And what I tell people, I've had probably had 2 sales where I've sold out everything completely. But most of the things, there's some stuff left over. And what I tell people is that I will help them sell the residue, what's left over. By doing that, I always get calls or emails from people saying I couldn't make sale, I had to work, or whatever, I was out of town, what's left. And what I do then is I go ahead and I get those people's information, their emails or phone numbers, and pass them on to the woodworker who is selling the tools. And I do that again at no cost to them. I just help them out. They get some more of the tools left out and get them on the road. And some people are happy with that. They like to do that. And then whatever is left over after that, I have a list of different organizations like Salvation Army, Habitat for Humanity. And I said, call these people up and they'll pick up most of it. Not everything, but they'll pick up most things like that. And otherwise, you can donate it to an organization, like the Guild.
Like the Guild.
Like the Guild.
I heard you say that most of your sales only last like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Do you ever offer a discount as you get toward the end, seeing that there's stuff going to be a lot left over?
I've started doing that in the last 4 or 5 years. I've started doing that. I didn't before, but I started doing that in the 4 or 5 years ago. And what I do is is again kind of reverbing back to what estate sales do. They'll have a discount maybe on day number 2 or day number 3. I don't have the luxury since I have it 3 or 4 hours. So it's a 4-hour sale, for example. It runs from 9 o'clock till 1. At 12 o'clock, everything is half price. I drop everything half price automatically. There's a few items I won't, but most stuff's half price. And that way, people will come back or they hang around until, that noon hour, and they get things at a great, great price. I price them low anyway to begin with. I tell the people right off the bat, I'm going to drop the prices significantly because the goal is to make you money, and the second thing is to move tools out of your way. That's what you want me to do, which is true. But then I said when they drop them half price, people will then, this is going to get a great bargain, so they'll come back.
Very cool.
All the tools that way.
So what, for a good sale, what's probably the most critical component for a good sale?
Well, it's a great question because I get asked this sometimes by people and said, what do I need to do? And I said, nothing, but make sure their tools are not rusty. I mean, if you rust on the tools, obviously turn people off in most cases. But the key thing I try to do is if the tools are somewhat clean, I try to go in and put them in the best perspective for photography I can, because a good photograph sells everything. I mean, if it's a bad photograph, it could be a great tool. I don't do a good job of that. I'm not going to sell the tool. I have very few people look at it. But if I take a good tool and photograph, and I take probably 3 or 4 shots of most of the major machines and some hand tools, the photograph will sell the people that come. That's how I get more people to come to the sale. It's good photographs. But again, the people who I'm working for have got to have a tool that is going to be somewhat presentable. So it helps.
I've looked at some sales like on Craigslist.
Yes.
Where people are selling table saw, $300, and there's a bad out of focus. Mm-hmm. It's got crap piled on the top of the saw. You can't tell what it is.
Right.
And I'm like, who's going to waste their time? And I've seen some of your sales advertised on Craigslist.
Yes.
And you see each piece of equipment, and I know what
Try
this
to do that,
is.
yeah.
And it's
To the best of-
nicely done.
Best you can. You bet.
So what's the most difficult thing to sell?
Well, you might imagine this. I mean, I saw you have one back over here. One of the toughest things I have to sell, and I have them a lot, is I get radial arm saws. Radial arm saws, it's just tough to sell. And it's like you're breaking the owner's heart when you tell him. I said, tell him I'm a hard time selling this because I've had sales where I've almost had to give them away. Not quite, but almost. I mean, I've dropped the sale price. People buy, back in the day, you're going to spend $500 or $600 for a decent radial arm, a good one. I cannot get really much more than $50 for a radial arm saw anymore. It's really hard to get that.
And that's probably even with the forest blade on it, too.
Those blades come off. I take those blades off. Yeah. But that'd be the toughest thing of all.
So that's hard. What's the easiest thing to sell?
The easiest one to sell, and you've probably already seen this yourself, and you know this from working at Woodcraft too, is The one thing that I have that people just go at right away is a Dewalt 735 planer.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of those in my sales, seems like, and those are the first things people go for. The planer always drops the bucks real easy, and it's amazing. I've had quick story on that. I'd sale a number of years ago, and I had a Dewalt 735 for sale, which is your low profile planer. Great planer, good buy for the money. And I get the sale usually an hour and a half early. So the sale started at 9 o'clock. I got there probably around 8. And there were a bunch of people already lined up. And the two guys in the front line had got there at 5:30 in the morning just for that one tool. 5:30 by the one tool. And the second guy in line didn't know the first guy was buying that tool. He was there also for that tool. And when he found out the first guy in line was buying that tool, he turned right around and walked off.
Oh.
Yeah, but anyway, that's probably the easiest one to sell. Of all of them.
I would think that some unique hand tools, like
Yeah,
a good chisel set.
There's hand tools. I mean, of course, Lee Nielsen stuff goes right away as well. At least it's not hard to sell at all. I don't get very many of those, but they're easy to sell.
Yeah. Do you have a website?
I don't have a website. My daughter's been on me to do that, but I haven't got one. All I have basically is an email address, and people can email me or whatever, and I can help them out either putting them on a mailing list or else getting them if they want to sell some stuff. They get a hold of me, and I can work with them on that basis too.
Okay.
So.
Have you ever turned down a seller?
Yeah, I have. I turned down probably about. It sounds crazy, but I turned about half the sales, and you know why? It's because people say, "I've got radio arm saw. That's all I've got." But they'll
I've got Craftsman everything.
And I try to be very, very, very tolerant and diplomatic when I'm talking to people like that. They say, I've got a lot of tools. And I said, okay, what does a lot of tools for you mean? And they'll tell me, well, I've got a drill, and I've got my grandfather's hammer, and I've got some socket sets, and I got some screwdrivers, and a skill saw. And you have to say it's just not enough to draw a crowd. I tell them, my goal is to make you money, and I've got to have enough to stimulate the group of people looking at this to come say, I want to go to that sale. And so half the time, at least half the time, I tell people it's not worth it, and I don't want to waste my time or yours, and so I really can't do it unless you have a number of good blend of power tools, machinery, and hand tools. That makes a good blend, then it'll work like a charm.
All right.
Yeah, I gotta have that.
What's the best time of year to have a sale?
Well, it's crazy, but I've had sales every month of the year. There's really no good or best time, but I'd say the ones obviously like right now would be a terrible time to have a sale, but with all the bad weather we've had. But I think the best times to have is when it's somewhat warmer and people can get outside and stand outside. I've had them all. I've had them at when it's been in January. I had a sale on this last January. 2 years ago, I had one. It was like 5 degrees out, and it was just miserable. But people still, woodworkers, we all know this. We all have our tools. If you see something you want, you're going to come to sale. Yep. And people sell stuff throughout the year. So there's really not one month that's better. But if I had to make a choice, I'd say spring, summer, and fall, obviously. The worst months to have a sale. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I usually don't have any sales at all. And then from Christmas to New Year's, I back off as well. So from Thanksgiving to New Year's Day, I don't have anything until after that, and then it starts picking up again.
Question, Mike. Have you ever run across a sale that you go, that's okay, I'll buy this one up front?
Buy it up front?
Yeah, you decided that was the tool.
Yeah.
Or instead of cash payment, I'll take this Lee Nielsen plane for
Yeah, if I see something that I want to upgrade on, I'll do that. I try to make sure that everybody knows I'm doing that up front. I don't want to pull any shenanigans, but let them know that I'll do this, but I'll buy this tool up front, put it to one side. That's no problem. They're good with that. They're good with that.
Okay, so here's a two-part question. What's the coolest tool that you've ever had at a sale?
The coolest tool I've ever sold, I think, and you'd probably agree with me on this knowing you, is I had for sale a year and a half ago in Prairie Village, going through some drawers in this guy's shop, and ran across an almost pristine Lee Nielsen skew block chisel, plain, 60 and a half. And it was just really, really nice. And of course, my eyes got real big. I thought, wow, this is really, really nice. And I already had one, so I did not want to buy it. So I went ahead and I had that out on the sale table, and it ran in a heartbeat. I've had a lot of neat tools over the years, come and go. There's some different planes. I've had some Chaplin planes, and I've had some other planes for sale that are really, really nice. But the Lee Nielsens are the ones that really draw people's eyes because they're usually bronze, and they're really well kept up. And this guy had a real nice one. So stuff like that, to me, that was one of the coolest things I've had. Plus, as far as a machine, real quick on the machine side, it's one of those things you could kind of kick yourself once in a while for passing on this one, and I did. The same guy that had the hand plane also had a Mini-Max 16-inch bandsaw, SCM bandsaw, and those are classics. It was really nice. The switch wasn't working, which was just a small electrical job, and I passed on that, and I know the guy who bought that. Now, he comes to my sales quite a bit, and I ask him, how's my bandsaw doing? Because that's one thing, because that was one of the things that really was, and they make good machines. It really was. That's
That
one thing I
was
wish
a
I would have
60?
bought. 16.
Oh, 16 inch, okay.
16
Okay.
inch SCM bandsaw.
Those are good machines.
Those are, Mini-Max are nice, and they really are, yeah.
So what's the most bizarre tool that you've ever sold?
Well, the most bizarre, I would have to say, a guy, it was at a sale I had out in the country, and this gentleman he basically had a post hole digger that was a conglomeration of different parts he'd made from barnwood, and he'd had a drill he somehow got from some machine of it, a John Deere tractor, whatever, and put it on there, and he wanted me to sell that for him. And I said, I don't think people are going to be buying that for woodworking, but you're the boss. I'll try it for you. And lo and behold, nobody bought it. But it was probably the most bizarre one I've had. That and then the dental drill falls right in that same category too. Dental drill does too.
Did you ever get to a sale location and find they had more better quality than what you thought originally?
That's a good question, and that happens once in a while. Only if I miss a drawer, and every times I have, it's funny that you pull drawers out and you look through them and you think you've gone through some stuff. Like I had one this last year, and the guy had nothing but sandpaper in this box, and it was a drawer. He had just cruddy place, really. It wasn't very clean. But anyway, I thought I went through everything thoroughly. I didn't. One of the guys who went to the sale opened the door and went through everything really well, and found a small little plane, a Veritas plane there, that he said, is this for sale? And I said, you got your hand on it, let's talk about the price. So we made a deal on the price, and he bought it. But you find stuff like that periodically. You really do. And it's amazing that this is no joke. The people that come to my sales, these people know how to buy, a lot of them do, especially the ones that get there early, and they do not miss a trick. They look everywhere, and then I'll miss things once. I think I'm pretty good, but I'll still miss things once in a while, and they don't. They find things I've overlooked. It's always kind of funny. I said, man, how did you find that?
Well, you've mentioned at the store, we've talked about some of your sales, about how some shops are really neat.
Yes. Oh, my God.
And it's a pleasure just to walk into
It
a
is,
shop
it
and you
is,
can
it is,
see
it
all
is,
the
it
tools,
is.
and others are just utter chaos.
Junk. That's exactly right.
And how do you work around that?
Well, it's one of those things that I tell people, listen, in all honesty, all the sales I've had, everybody's made money, but one guy did not. And it was a sale in Kansas, Missouri, and I went down the basement. He had some nice machinery, but it was really dirty, and you couldn't see it real well because it wasn't very well lit. And I went and took the job because I felt a little sorry for him. He was selling a home for his parents. The home was a junk place to begin with, and you walk down the steps, it was really a danger zone to get downstairs. And it just gets to the point where, you have to look at that, and I should have said no, but I didn't. I went and took the sale and did the best I could with that. But so many times, one of the great things about what I do is I've probably seen more shops than all of the guys here combined, because I go into lots of shops. And again, when I walked in there, I always say to people, if they call me and said, I've got some tools, and they kind of give me an idea, and I ask them if they can send me pictures. So some people don't know how to take pictures of their phones, and so they can't. I said, okay, look, give me an idea, what do you have? They tell me, and if it sounds reasonable, if they're within range, I'll go and I'll drive out to see what they've got. And you walk over there in the shop sometimes, and if it's dirty and really filthy, they've got to have some really nice stuff in order for me to say yes. Because I tell them my job is not to clean your shop. My job is not to be a house cleaner or shop cleaner. I have enough time doing that on my own shop. And I don't want to do that here. But if you clean, I've had people actually clean the shops up and have me come back, and I'll take the job. But if they're messy, I don't do that.
So how do people get advance notice of your sales?
Well, if they want to reach me, I gave my email address out earlier, but I can tell it again. They can reach me at an email address, and they can do that at mbcobb5@gmail.com. Again, mbcobb, C-O-B-B, 5@gmail.com.
And it's on the screen.
Is it on screen? Okay, good. They can reach me there and just email me and say, I've got a brother-in-law who lives in Liberty, and he's got some tools he wants to get rid of. Or else if they say, can I get on your mailing list? And I tell people I don't get my mailing list out. I just get your name, email, and I send out all the information out to everybody, and it works very, very well. The only thing I can tell people is this: if they know somebody wants to have a sale, I don't mind traveling to go to any place to put on a sale. I've done them in Lawrence, I've done Topeka, St. Joe, and places like that around. But they need to have a reasonable amount of tools. That's the thing, keep thing I tell people. You have a reasonable amount of tools to make it worthwhile to have a sale. And, so that works that way real well.
So otherwise, it could be rolled in. If they had just a small amount of tools, they could roll that into it like an estate sale.
Yeah, they could
type
put that,
thing.
they have a garage sale. I tell them, they say, what should I do? They say, what can I do with these tools I've got? If you can't do it, what can you do? I said, I recommend you put them on Craigslist. And sometimes they cringe, and I said, now, if you just say it's cash, and people aren't going to actually scam you usually unless you have expensive stuff. If you have expensive stuff, they'll try to do that. If it's small stuff, like we're talking about a circuit saw, drill, whatever it might be, then you put that on Craigslist or have a garage sale. It's the best way to do that.
So is there any particular strategy that you tell someone if they're interested in snaring that great tool?
If they want to get that Dewalt planer, or if they want to get that Lee Nielsen plane, whatever it might be, I tell people this is the best thing to do. And I get asked this sometime, can you go ahead and hold the tool for me? Or can I give you upfront money right now to hold the tool for me? And the answer is always no, because I'm not going to start that. Like you say, you have to make sure you get there early. And again, most of the time, if I have a sale at 9 o'clock, there's people that get there at 7.
Or 5:30.
And 5:30 for certain, that's right. But most people get there an hour and a half or so early, and these people bring buckets. They bring the 5-gallon paint buckets, and they'll bring coffee, and all the guys know each other. Seems like they know each other. The early birds know each other. So they get there early, and if they get there early, they know exactly what they want, and they go in there and they get it, and it's done. And I've had people be discouraged because they missed out. Well, there'll be other tools coming up, because there's always stuff coming up periodically.
Because I've gone to one of your sales and I got there, half an hour early. I thought, oh, well, I'm plenty early, and there's already like 12 people in line.
It'd be a long
And
time.
every one of those person had a 5-gallon pail.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what's this for? And when the doors open, those
right.
buckets just got
That's right,
filled.
full, yeah, they do that, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly right, exactly right.
So, do we have any other questions from the crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim.
How do you determine the price of a tool? Is there a formula that you use for used tools?
Yeah, I kind of do, Jim. What I do is this, basically, if it's an antique tool, an older hand plane or set of chisels, or whatever it might be, some Stanley, Everlast, whatever, in those categories, I know my prices well enough that I have to look at the condition of the tool. Look on the condition, and if it's a set, it has to be the complete set. And I can judge from there, because I've done enough in the past. I keep track of everything I've sold, most stuff, like, again, hand planes and chisels and things like that I know are worth some money. I keep records of all those, so I know what they sell for. And if they don't sell, then I know I've priced it too high. That seldom happens, but I know what they sell for. If it's a machine, like if we got a drill press or a drum sander or a dust collector, working at Woodcraft, like with Craig, I know what those things bring brand new. And what I do primarily is this. Because I've got old catalogs, I've had some old Sears catalogs, I've got Grizzly catalogs, I've got every kind of catalog you can think of at my house. And if I need to, I'll go back and use it as a reference. And I say, okay, here's a machine that Woodcraft right now may sell for $1,000 for a jointer, like a Paramedic 6-inch jointer will sell for $1,100. Back in the day when they bought it, maybe back in 95 or 2003, it maybe only cost $795. And so I have to take that in consideration, the age and condition, and then I simply go ahead and I always go halfway. I always take half the price off, so it's $1,000. It's going to be $500, and that's just a starting point. And I said, to really move it. And a lot of people, think, are you getting the best money for me by doing this? I say yes. If you want to move it, I'll drop it below half price. I always drop it below half price. So it depends on condition, things like that. I might go 60 or 70% off the retail price just to get the machine moving, and people know that, and they come to my sales. That's why it's fairly successful.
I imagine that some of your customers would be more thankful to have the shop empty
Exactly right.
than
Exactly right.
make a little bit of money instead of like,
Exactly.
oh, now I've got
hang
all
on
these.
this thing over and over again. And I tell people that up front. If you want to go ahead and get more money for your tools, then I can price them higher, but they won't sell right away. If you want to hold on and having people come back and bug you week after week trying to negotiate tools, that's fine, but it's not going to sell. If you want to sell them, make money, and get them out of here, let me price them for you. So that's how it works.
Now, if you had, I know people see like some of my old Stanley planes
Yes.
and my bedrocks.
Right.
Oh, that plane must be worth lots of money. It's an antique.
Yeah, always tell me
Or
that.
have you ever had customers disappointed? Like, really? Is that all it's worth?
Oh yeah, people do that periodically. I said, well, I thought that's worth a lot more money. And I said, yes, it is, but here, They don't look at it carefully enough because they just look at the cosmetic appeal of that. They look closely, they'll see maybe the frog is damaged, or the lever cap has a chip out of it, or the blade's is not the same type of blade. It might be something like a Sargent blade in a Stanley plane, which devalues all those things play a role. So yeah, you're right, and I get that once in a while, but not too often. Not too often. Not too often.
Great grandpa had a whole stack of handmade planes. Should I just throw them away or throw them in the fireplace?
Handmade.
Yes.
If you made them by hand, for sentimental value, it's probably going to be worthwhile. You hold them. Otherwise, it's not going to bring much money. Anything that's handmade, I have a hard time selling. I really do. I mean, I've had router tables that look really great, and they just sit there and don't do anything. It's
Because they
really
don't
fun.
have a brand name on it. They
That's
don't say
right.
Woodpecker
They
or
want
Jessamine.
the brand name. They want the brand name. So it's like the last sale I had 2 weeks ago. The guy had made a really nice panel cutting saw, and it was collapsible. And he had the pipes on the rails, stuff like that, where you could put your saw on that. And I had that thing at $90, and I even took a second look at it. And even half price at $45, nobody bought it. And it's worth every penny of that, but it's handmade. So people they look at that the other way.
Yes, Jim.
How do I say this or ask this? The used to be the standard for woodworking tools was Delta,
Yeah.
and they're practically not around anymore.
Yes.
So what's happened to the price of Delta tools machinery?
Delta tool machinery, and me being a former Delta rep, which is close and dear to my heart, they've taken a dive except for unisaws. Unisaws still demand and will bring a good chunk of money. Delta unisaws and band saws and the jointers will still bring a premium dollar. They'll compete with Powermatic and with Jet. Again, depends on condition. It really depends on condition. Otherwise, the Delta machinery is not bringing what it used to bring, and it's just because of parts and reliability. I mean, it's what they're making now. I don't even know what they're doing right now. It's hard to imagine that. That's a good question. Yeah, they mean Powermatic, Jet, Grizzly, Rikon. They've all come up. Laguna, and of course I don't have any yet, not yet, any saw stops yet. But all the other brands have caught up and surpassed them. It really is a shame. But the unisaws do bring some money. They still do, and I've had those in the past, and they still bring a premium dollar. They do.
It'll
Just
be interesting.
gave mine away.
What's that?
I just gave mine away.
Because you have what now?
A saw stop.
There you go.
Wow.
It'll be interesting to see what in 10, 15, 20 years as woodworkers today are retiring and downsizing their shops, what saw stops are going to be bringing.
Yeah, that's right.
Because, I see online, like eBay sales, people are auctioning off on eBay their saws more than what they could come into our store and buy them for. And they get it. I've looked at some of the closed sales on saw stops. I'm like, well, you can buy a brand new one and for less money than that.
It's amazing, and it is. It truly is.
How often do you get somebody that the family has no idea what the woodworkers' prices were? They're quite surprised when they get the kind of money they get.
How often? Or
Yes, the family wasn't expecting to get as much as they got.
They're usually amazed that they get that. And they always ask me sometimes, what do you think it's all worth? When I first go in, they say, how much do you think I can get? It's hard to say what I can really get for them because I haven't got a chance to go through every drawer and look at things real thoroughly. But I give them an overall value of what I think it's worth, and I always lowball that. I always say, if I say it's worth $2,000, I'm pretty sure I might be able to get $2,500 or $3,000 for the sale, maybe 4 or 5, whoever, how much it depends on they've got. But what the nice thing is what I do, and it's just something that really makes their eyes bug out, is because I take only cash, and then I count all the money at the very end, and I put all the hundreds on the outside, and it's a big thick wad, and I give them that, and I said, here's your cut. And I don't take any money. I don't take any money at all. What I do, and I asked about this, I don't take any money when I'm working. I don't take any money prior to it or during the sale, whatever. Only after, when I give them all my money, I said, okay, now here's how many hours I've worked for you, and you can pay me out of that. And they're just tickled to death to do that. They really are. So.
Very nice. Any other questions, Chris? No? All right. Hopefully we've got all the questions answered. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for
I
having me,
learned
Craig.
a lot.
Thank
I
you
know
for having me.
we work 2 or 3 times a week together, and I still learned a lot about your sales tonight.
Tomorrow for
Tomorrow.
sure. Tomorrow for sure.
All right, so we got one thing to do here. Mike, don't run away.
Oh,
All right. We do every month. We have the mug shot. It's a lecture mug.
thank you.
And we have to look up here at Chris.
Both of us. Break the camera.
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much. All right, so thank you, Mike.
you,
Thank you,
Craig.
Jim, for coming down and hosting Show and Tell. Will you do it again next month? Great. Be sure to go online. If you do want to send some stuff in for Show and Tell, there is a spot where you can upload your photos on the website and also fill out the information about who you are, what kind of wood, your challenges, your finishes, and all that Jim likes to get those questions answered. So, again, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week, or no, not next week, next month on St. Patrick's Day is the next meeting. See you soon. Stay safe.